Welcome students. In this video we will learn about the fifth chapter of history when people rebel 1857 and after. Fifth chapter of history, and in this chapter we will learn how the people in different peoples in society face problem in the British rule. Means British made so many policies, and so that the people among the society, all the people face problem. If we talk about the king, the nawabs, peasants, tribal communities, as in previous chapter we came to know that they made the forest law, and in this way they just lost their traditional occupation. So king, peasants, nawabs, tribal communities, even all the section of the society, they face problem for their policies. And in this chapter we will learn what were the reasons, what were the causes why the people rebel in 1857. What were the causes? What were the problems which the people faced, so that they just stand against the British Empire or the British government? So, in these causes, in this video, we will learn about the policies, and Nawab lost their power. Policies means British introduced so many policies so that they annexed the kingdoms in their own empire, and Nawab lost their power. How the Nawab lost their power? They just lost their honors and all these things. And third, the cause of this revolt, that the peasants and Sipai face problem. Peasant face problem in previous chapter. If you came to know that in third chapter, ruling countryside, in this chapter we came to know that British introduced so many settlements, and through the settlements peasant faced too much problem because they had to pay a heavy tax, and due to this heavy tax they lost their land. And the fourth one is responses to reforms. Responses to reforms means British reforms means just wanted to remove the evils which were among the Indian society, but the people thought that they were just interrupting their traditional customs. So these were the main causes. Actually, the immediate cause, or we can say the spark of this revolt, that was started in Meerut. So now let's see what are the causes of the revolt. Nawabs lost their power. Nawabs and Rajas had been lost their power since mid-18th century. They lost their honor, power and freedom. Their armed forces disbanded, and British got the power of collecting revenue. By their policies, subsidiary alliances and doctrine of lapse, British government annexed their kingdoms. If we talk about the subsidiary alliances, first who accepted was the Nizam of Hyderabad. Who accepted first the subsidiary alliances? The Nizam of Hyderabad. After the third Anglo-Marathan war, Maratha ruler Baji Rao II also accepted subsidiary alliances. Other states who accepted these were Tanjore, Awadh, Satara, Oudh. Now the rulers argued to pay for the maintenance of British force. Means in subsidiary alliances the ruler agreed for which agreement? to pay for the maintenance of British force. Now they right, hadn't right. They were rulers only for name, means they hadn't any power, only for the name they were the rulers. Their power reduced. Lord Dalhousie introduced doctrine of lapse. By this policy they annexated the kingdom of Rani Lakshmibai, Queen of Jhansi, wanted the company to recognize her adopted son as their heir to the kingdom after the death of her husband Gangadhar Rao. Second, Nana Sahib, the adopted son of Peshwa Baji Rao II, pleaded that must be given his father pension. Governor General Canings later on decided, as we know that Bahadur Shah Jafar was the last Mughal emperor, and how we know this? Because Governor General Canning decided Bahadur Shah Jafar would be the last Mughal kings. Later on, no one would be the king, so that their heir, or we can say their son, they were called only princes. The peasants and Sipai are second, as we read in this chapter, the causes of revolt 1857, why it occurred. The peasants, the main second cause of this revolt was the peasants and Sipai. They also faced the problems. Peasants and Sipai. If we talk about, then the every section of society, they face the problem. As in previous chapter we came to know about the Nawabs lost their power, and how the British government got right revenue collections. Later on they just started revenue settlements, and for this revenue settlement these peasants face problems because the countryside peasant had to pay high taxes. As I told you that in previous chapter we came to know the revenue settlement that were introduced by the British government, so that many peasants failed to pay back their loan to the money lenders and gradually lost the land. Why they took the loan? To pay the taxes, and when they didn't able to pay that loan, so that they lost their lands. And if we talk about the Sipais were also unhappy about their pay, allowances and condition of service, because they are not getting the higher post. Their higher post was on that time is Subedar. In 1856, the company passed a new law. In 1850, the company passed a new law. What is that new law? Every new person who took up employment in the company army, means if they wanted to admit in company army, they had to agree to the service overseas if required. Means if the British need to send their army or the Sipai to the outside of India, then they had to go. Our The third cause of revolt was response to reforms. Means they just wanted to, to reduce the evils of our society, but the systems or the traditions which were followed by the Indians, they didn't want to interrupt by any outsider. How Britain passed laws to stop the practice of sati and to encourage the remarriage of widows. After 1830, the company allowed Christian missionaries and the people who will follow the Christianity, then they would get the benefits. So many Indians began to feel that the British were destroying their religions, their social customs, and their traditional way of life. These were the main causes of revolt of 1857. The rest topic of this chapter we will see in next video. Thank you.